Hey friends, I am out here in the greenhouse where I have been spending most of my time all day yesterday. From like the minute I got home from dropping Charlie off to school until the minute I had to leave and go pick her back up, I was in here. Oh, it was so amazing. It was like, I should have brought you guys along for it because it would have been like good information. I was starting all my flower seeds and like, it was just good. But anyone who like blogs and you do this, you know that sometimes you just want to have those moments where you just can like turn your music on loud, kind of like zone out, just have your hands in the soil and just like do the dang thing. And that's kind of how I was yesterday. And I was talking to Nathan, I was like, man, I really should have brought our friends along for that. And he's like, why didn't you? I was like, I don't know, I just like got in the zone and just did it. So I'm going to kind of show you guys what I did yesterday, and then I am going to bring you guys along as I start some of my sunflower seeds today for the plant sale. I did want to mention that too. You guys know I mentioned that our sale was online last year. After going back and forth, we decided to do it online again this year. Well, then the owner of Bell Urban Farm rented out another space, the Faulkner County Library, which is actually close to the plant sale, where we have much more room to be spread out. And she just really felt passionate about having the plant sale in person this year, and really just expressing to us that the whole reason behind this was to get the community involved, and she thinks that we can do that in a safe manner just by having a bigger space. And so I'm really excited about that. I will keep you guys up to date as it gets closer. For those of you who are semi-local, I would love the opportunity just to meet you guys, you know, like see your face, hug your neck, fist bump, whatever that looks like. I just think it would be a really sweet time. So I'll keep you guys up to date. It will be in Conway, Arkansas on April 17th is the weekend right now, weather permitting. So as details come in and I know more, I'll share more with you guys. If y'all are in the area or it's not that long to get here, I'd love to be able to meet you guys. But let me show you guys what I did yesterday. I have moved everything out here since the mouse situation. Everything's good. Everything's doing great. They survived the first night perfectly. There was no problem. So that was really encouraging. I have potted up some goji berries here. These were all in the 50 cell trays, and my eucalyptus, and I potted up some of these banana peppers. I started my zinnias, so I've got giant purple peppermint. I'm in another variety. These are like multicolored zinnias. Over here I have the same thing, but these are for the farm, so the other ones were ones that I intended to sell. And then I've got some envy zinnia, which is a really pretty green, some northern lights, and a cactus zinnia, which the flowers are kind of cool on that. And just started some more stuff here. You guys can see some stuff's coming up. Oh yeah, and I started some more there. So a lot, all my zinnias for the most part got started yesterday. My plan is to kind of succession sow those zinnias here on our farm. That way I can be cutting them later into the season and have them available to sell. So that's probably all I'm going to do right now. And then maybe in April, start a whole nother round, a couple hundred more. But today I am going to start my sunflower seeds with you guys for the plant sale. And I will also kind of succession sow those. And then next week I will be starting all of my nasturtiums, which do really good. Nasturtiums are just one of those really fun flowers that are super versatile. You can grow in pots. You can kind of just throw them wherever and they thrive. I will probably still have some for our farm, but I'm just going to direct sow those because they do really well. And that's one of those things I kind of get asked a lot. Why do you start some of these things that you could direct sow, like the flowers, for instance? And for a lot of them, like my sunflowers, I don't transplant out. I just direct sow those, things like that. But the flowers that I intend to sell, that is the only reason why I'm starting them, up potting them, and then it's just to be able to sell the transplant. So I do want you guys to keep in mind, you do not have to start everything from seed and, you know, transplant it out. For me, like all my tomatoes and my peppers, things of that nature, I still start them because I like to physically place them somewhere in the garden and then have the liberty of moving them around and changing it. But my cucumbers, my squash and zucchini, my beans, I direct sow all of those. Most of my flowers I'll go through and stick like a sunflower seed or a zinnia at the end of the bed. So don't add that extra step on, on you, that extra chore if you don't have to, if you don't need to sell it. You're not worried about getting it in earlier to, have a harvest earlier. just direct sow it, save you guys some time. All right, let's see what sunflowers I've got. I have some Sun Pro sunflowers that I saved the seeds from last year. So these are mine. I can't ensure that these weren't crossed. These were flowers that a friend gave me that I saved the seeds from. So these will just be what I start for me. But I've got these dwarf sunspot sunflowers I'm going to start. And then this vanilla ice sunflower that I'm going to start. And then I have a black sunflower. So those are the ones I'm going to start for the sale. Probably not that many either. Now you guys know I've been doing a lot of things in here. I did even start some zinnias in here to see how they would do space-wise. But I think for these sunflowers, I'm just going to do these 50 cell trays. They're bigger, which is going to be nicer because the sunflowers, just the stalk, they get bigger a lot quicker than some other seeds will. So I'm probably going to go ahead and fill these. Just one tray of these and just have it be the different varieties. It's so funny how like the sun's not even out, but it's so bright. You know, on like those cloudy days that you're like squinting going outside and you're like, why am I doing this? The sun's not even out. That's how it is in here right now. Yesterday, I had the vent fully open. It had automatically opened. The door I had propped up, and it was 90s in here. It was hot. So on days like that, because I did get asked a lot of questions on my last video, and that was, are you not worried about your plants getting sun scald or, you know, getting shocked going from the herb room out here? And that herb room was so small that with the heater in there, I mean, it stayed 80, 90 degrees in there. Granted, it didn't have the sun like what this plastic is reflecting. But when I start all these seeds, I start the same variety of seeds for the most part. I start them outside in the old greenhouse is typically what I've done. And they do fine. It's just kind of what they're used to. Plants are also really resilient. So I knew that some of them might have taken a little bit of a shock, but overall, these were probably all going to do just fine. And they did. I actually didn't have a problem with any of them. They've all done great. I came out here yesterday. Some of my tomatoes were looking a little droopy, so I like watered them. I just bottom watered them midday just to make sure that they had sufficient water and they weren't like drying up or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times plants are resilient. I mean, they do way better than you think that they would in most conditions, honestly. So know that there is some leniency there. Speaking of that, I moved my Greenstalk in front of the greenhouse, and you guys saw the herbs that I bought. I went ahead and filled that. Well, then I had some spinaches, you know, some of them bolted, but then I still have 3 or 4 that were fine, but they were just drying out in the cell they were in, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go and throw these in the Greenstalk and just see what happens. I looked at the weather. It was supposed to get down, like the low was like 42 or something. I was like, well, they're already dying, you know, in the tray that they're in. Like, they're not thriving. They're not in, like, this perfect, you know, condition. So I'm like, I'm going to throw these things in the Greenstalk. I'm just going to see what happens. And I'd be danged if I came out here this morning and they weren't, like, just doing so good. So I'll show you guys what they look like. But I have loved having the Greenstalk right here with all these different herbs. It just... You guys know I wanted a pretty greenhouse, and that wasn't practical for me. Like, practically I needed this space, and so I thought, well, what can I do to kind of make this feel like pretty? And so putting my Greenstalk out here was exactly what I needed to do to make my heart happy. You guys can see here, we got some lavender. Here's some of that spinach I was talking about. Look at that, guys. I have got some variegated oregano. Here's some thyme. Here's some more spinach and more. Here's some more of that variegated thyme, or oregano. Isn't that so pretty? I've got rosemary. We've got some purple sage down here. I really wanted to show you guys the tricolored sage. Check that out. All this stuff smells so good too. I've got more lavender. Here's some peppermint. But as you guys can see, I've just got it right in front of the greenhouse. It's just so pretty. Hopefully this will just be protruding with herbs. I'll come in and fill in whenever we're like not worried about frost anymore. I'll put beans and stuff like that. But I just thought that was so sweet. So there's your proof that you can have the best of both worlds. Oh, here we go. I knew I had these in one of my pockets. You can have practical which is what this space is. But then you can also pretty it up. What I plan to do this summer too is I've got a bunch of my house plants that will end up coming back outside that actually thrive being out here. I just move them in for the winter. I plan on hanging them all in the gable of the greenhouse. So when you come in here, you know, there'll just be these house plants hanging, which I think will be really pretty as well. All right. I got to take the shawl off. We're getting we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys. All right, so let me figure out how many I'm selling these. So I'm selling the sunflower in my single 5-inch pots. I have in the past done like 6-packs, and they didn't do near as well. I offered, you know, the flowers in 6-packs, but the things that actually did a lot better in 6-packs were like my squash and my zucchini. And in the past, I've also sold those in single packs. So those are things that I just took note of. But all my zinnias and my sunflowers, I'll be selling in single, you know, 4.5, 5-inch pots, and then I'll just do the squash and the zucchini will be the only thing I have in 6-inch pots. So I'm gonna start 20 of each variety is what I'm gonna do, and then I'll just evaluate. I think that'll be plenty. At this point too, now that it's in person, the things I'm having to consider is transporting all of this. So the plant sale is about an hour from where I live, and so a lot of the things I'd started 50, 60 of each variety of tomato. I'm not going to be taking that many because when I think about the cost and my fuel and my time driving that many trips to transport that many once they've all been up potted, it doesn't make sense. So I'm probably going to cut back on the variety or on the number of varieties I take a smaller quantity, maybe like 20 of each plant, and then I'll just let my friends and family come to the farm and shop their plants, which is typically what I do anyways. So these flowers, because of what I'm starting them in, you know, that would let me be putting 20 of each variety, which makes sense. I'm probably not going to take that many to the sale, but then if friends and family come over, they can shop them as well, and that way I'm just not wasting a tray. I can just utilize the whole tray. So I am just starting one of each, especially, and I've talked about this before, the things that are going to be, you know, needing, things that get bigger, I guess you could say. So a sunflower gets bigger to start, and so I know that with this 50 cell tray, they're bigger, but they're not huge, and so if I were to plant more than one in here, they're just going to be fighting for nutrients much quicker, much earlier on than when I probably want to pot them up. And so I don't know. These are all new seeds. I don't think I'm going to have an issue with germination. So I'm just going to go ahead and do one. And then when I start noticing all the other ones coming up, if there's a lull, which is typically what I've been doing too. If I go through, especially with my peppers, and I started a bunch of those, and then I started to notice that some of them didn't germinate, I just went back in and like reseeded them. And that's what I'll do here, is just start off with one, and then if I notice a need, I'll come back in. Man. When you start, like, tomatoes, like, I'm used to always starting tomatoes in January, the end of January. This year I didn't start mine until after Valentine's Day because of all the snow. But it's still winter, right? I mean, I started my tomatoes and there was, like, a foot of snow outside. So that I'm kind of used to. But when I start my flowers, like, I know when I start my flowers, it's not going to be very long until they're outside. And so it really is kind of exciting that I just started this whole tray of flowers. And that means that in just a few weeks we're gonna have spring. That just gets me really pumped. So It's exciting. I love seeing the greenhouse full. I love utilizing this space. What I think I'm going to do is bring one of the racks from the herb room out here and just store like my extra trays and stuff like that on them, because right now I'm still having to go back and forth between the other greenhouse and the herb room, and like my stuff's just scattered everywhere. So I'm probably going to over the weekend set up one of those racks in here and just make things a bit more organized. That way I can, you know, use this actual pretty soon I'm gonna be needing the table that I'm on right now to house starts. So I can't believe it. I've already got probably thousands of starts in here. Isn't that wild, you guys? Like thousands of starts. You guys helped me start all these. I also think that's pretty cool. You guys will have known when I started everything, when I put it out into the garden, you will have just walked this whole journey with me. I think that's kind of sweet. Another thing I really wanted to offer at the plant sale was houseplants. That's something that I would like to do in the off seasons. I offer houseplants. You guys know I have a love for houseplants. They bring me a lot of joy in those cold winter months. Y'all were with me whenever I started these and up-potted those, and I bought some of these, which is that variety right there. So those are really pretty. Those who wanted to support the community but maybe they're not in a place where they're buying vegetable starts so they don't need them, I thought this would kind of be a nice little happy medium to offer them as well. Y'all, I could stay out here forever. I'm gonna be real transparent with you guys. My house, y'all, my house is a hot mess. I mean, it is like, I'm messy anyways, like my house is always lived in. Y'all, I could stay out here forever. I'm gonna be real transparent with you guys. My house, y'all, my house is a hot mess. I mean, it is like, I'm messy anyways, like my house is always lived in, and usually I don't like apologize for it. But ever since like the snow is gone and we've been having like spring-like days, I've just spent so much time out here that when I got home a while ago and I walked in the house, I was like, oh, Jill, this is a whole nother level, girl. You got to work on that. So I am like going to force myself to get out of the greenhouse, go inside, like be a good housewife for a minute and like do some laundry, pick up some stuff. It's so hard though. And I know every gardener understands that feeling when you're like, man, I really need to do other things, but man, I really want to plant seeds, or, you know, start seeds, or man, I really want to up-pot something. It's like the biggest challenge this time of year. I always joke I'm a much better housewife in the winter than I am in the spring and the summer, because this just takes precedence every single time, and it's because I enjoy it. It's because I love it. It's because it's therapeutic. It's because it's like all these things for me, right? Just to come out here and sweat. Yesterday I was out here and it was sunny. I mean, it was sunny, and this plastic just kind of like, you know, you can get a sunburn really easily. And I ended up like getting a sunburn. I was like, okay, I need to be more diligent on like wearing sunscreen when I'm out in the greenhouse for long periods of time. But it's just been so fun. Like, you guys know I dreamed of this greenhouse in this space for many years, and then when my friend Sean built it, I was really excited, but I still wasn't ready to use it. And then we had all that big snowstorm, and I still didn't feel comfortable. And now, like, being able to walk out here every day, something that I've dreamed for and longed for many years, and be like, wow, the hard work and the wait was totally worth it. And so it's just been a sweet space. I've just enjoyed sharing it with you guys as well. I do want to remind you guys that we have t-shirts. I will pop a photo up here. These will only, they're pre-order only. We do them through Be Unlimited. They will only be available through March 16th. So if you're wanting one of those, this will be, I think, Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the 16th. So there's only a few more days left to order if you want them. If you want one of these t-shirts, the link will be listed below to order them. We are going to be doing a tank top and a t-shirt, but that will be later in the summer, probably around July. So this will be our spring shirt, if you will, and we won't have another one until summer. But thank you guys so much for just supporting us so well, for hanging out, for seeing like all my dreams come true and just rallying behind us, for sending all your sincere apologies for the stinking old mouse. Yeah, you guys really just cheered me up with all your comments and were like, oh, don't worry, that same thing's happened to me. And although it does stink, like, I don't wish those things on you guys, it is nice to know that there's that relatability, and that's why I really wanted to be vulnerable with you guys in that last vlog and be like, hey, it happens to the best of us, right? Like, stuff happens. Like, we can't help it. But thank you guys for just kind of picking me up and be like, hey, don't worry about it, and sharing y'all stories with me as well. It was really cool. But thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you soon.